Hello, welcome to Lounge Room Chats with Linda Emsley from Love Lali. It's a beautiful day here in Darwin. I think the dry season might be coming, and that makes me feel very open and abundant. It's a beautiful feeling. But I did just want to extend our conversation a bit from last week. Last week we talked about scarcity mindset, and this week I wanted to delve a little bit further into that, looking at the inner reflection of scarcity mindset and what that is on the inside. So when we're feeling scarcity mindset on the inside, we're noticing things more like, I'm not good enough. So things, instead of in the external world, when we feel that scarcity mindset, our head is filled with thoughts of there's not enough, there's never enough. But when that scarcity mindset is reflected internally, it all of a sudden becomes, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not clever enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not whatever it is. I'm not enough. Hey, Melinda Smiley, thank you for joining me today. I'm talking about what happens when scarcity mindset is reflected internally. And what we're talking about here, of course, is our sense of self-worth, our sense of value, and sometimes that impacts on our sense of purpose. So when we're reflecting scarcity mindset internally, often the thoughts that come forward are, I'm not good enough, I'm not enough. And then sometimes that gets extended a little further, and we start comparing ourselves with other people. And when we start comparing ourselves to other people, then there's that sense of fear and competition that comes in that really starts restricting the flow of how universal abundance wants to work with you, not only in helping your soul purpose to shine through, but in helping you fulfill your potential. You have such gifts and such talents, but often we fence ourselves in because we have this feeling inside us that we're not enough. And then we look around at people around us and they're doing wonderful, marvellous things, and we compare ourselves with that and think, I could never do that. I'm nowhere near clever enough to do that. I'm nowhere near brave enough to do that. And so we don't even give ourselves the chance. So I wanted to start today's conversation with a beautiful little quote here from a book that I really enjoy reading, The Divine Law of Compensation. I'm sure many of you have heard this one before. That beautiful book written by Marianne Williamson. And the little quote that I'm starting off with today is, at the level of our divine function, none of us are in competition with each other, for the universe has an infinite number of pieces of pie. My piece doesn't take away from yours, and yours doesn't take away from mine. There is space for everyone's gifts to flower. There is more than enough for all of us. I love that. There is more than enough for all of us. And that includes the gifts and talents that we bring to the planet when we decide to come down here and do the purpose that we're here to do. Melinda Smiley, do you have anything you'd like to add to that observation? Talking about how we frame our world from a position of I'm not enough. What do you think some of the things are that contribute to that feeling? It seems to be an innate quality, particularly in women, but men aren't immune from it either. We're all human beings, and we seem to have this inner reservation about, I haven't actually got what it takes to do, or to be, or to love, or to earn. So I'm putting the question out to Melinda in particular because I know she's watching, but anybody else who might be tuning in or watching the replay, where do you think this comes from? Is it something that we're born with? Is it something that we learn? So certainly when we start our journey, we are very firmly influenced by our family. Obviously, the way we're brought up, the words that we hear, the examples that we see, and just the environment that we flourish in. And Melinda's just commenting here, for me, it is comparison with people in my circle of influence. They seem to have it all together and I feel like I don't. Exactly. It's that comparing self against others and comparing our inner sense with the picture that somebody else chooses to present to the world. So Melinda, my question to you is, how do you know that the people that are in your circle aren't having exactly the same feeling when they look at how you're operating in your world? They might be sitting there in their own sense of not quite valuing themselves as much as they probably could, and looking at Melinda Smiley going, that woman has really got it together. I admire her so much. I don't know how she does it, but I wish I had it together like she does. So it's all about perception, isn't it? How we think of ourselves and what happens when we expose those thoughts to comparison with the outside world. So just coming back to that whole idea of where does this sense of lack, this inner lack, come from? Because so many of us seem to be programmed with it, literally programmed with it. And in fact, I'd go so far to say with women, it's actually embedded or encoded in our DNA. It almost feels like that. We're brought into this world with that underlying assumption that no matter what I do, I'm never enough. And it could be smart enough, pretty, funny, good looking, whatever it is. I'm just not enough. So part of it could be that we bring that in as a lesson for us to delve with. That is this in some way reverse ego and reverse humility, that if I think I'm never enough, then I don't have to actually go out and try, and it's letting myself off the hook. And I can't even explain what I'm trying to say about that reverse ego thing, but you know, instead of being the best, I'm the worst. That in itself is making a statement. And Melinda is saying, it is all perception, yet we fall for it every time. For me, the sense of lack comes from my childhood story of not enough money, not enough work to make ends meet. Yeah, those external factors are very strong, aren't they? Particularly when we see our parents operating in that mode and in that framework. As children, we're such sponges and our minds are open to the wonder of the world. But we do take on the story and the model that we grow up in. You know, that's our environment. So if the story is perpetuated that there's not enough and that whatever I do, I'm never enough to make it better, then obviously we're going to take that on board and grow up with it. So this seems like the perfect opportunity to bring in yet another quote from Marianne Williamson out of her lovely book, The Divine Law of Compensation. And so this, I think, takes us to the part of the challenge of what we're here for as human beings. Part of it is to grow and learn and step into our true potential. Each and every one of us has extraordinary gifts that only each of us bring, like they're individual and unique to you. What you have is unique and individual to you, and what I have is unique and individual to me. But when we bring it forth and share it with the world, the whole world is enriched and uplifted by the work that you're doing. So this is the quote from Marianne Williamson, and here's the challenge that we face. Spiritual growth involves giving up the stories of your past so the universe can write a new one. You're not denying your childhood, you're simply transcending any of its negative aspects. So when you start exploring what you can do to change, what it is, you know, the family paradigm that you grew up in, but it's broader than that too. It's actually the cultural context of your family. There could be some religious or faith aspects that dovetail into your conditioning. And, you know, over and above all of that is what's happening in pop culture. So we have the popular media setting certain agendas, and we did touch on that last week with the scarcity mindset. And that also impacts on the reflection inwards, on our inner view of ourselves and how we fit into that framework being put forth. So, it pays to become aware and remember that our perception of self and our perception of the outside world is actually a filter that the soul is peering through. So when we think about that being just a filter, that we can take that filter away, that we can actually open out and release ourselves from self-judgment and judgment of others, then we start to see ourselves as we truly are and the world around us as we truly are, and start feeling that opening out and relaxation of the stricture that we've been forcing ourselves into. We've been putting ourselves into a tiny little box that's really not big enough for all the beautiful potential that you contain. You need to open out, remove those restrictions, and allow that beautiful potential that's inside you to flourish and to grow. Nurture your possibility. And I think one of the really important tools for doing that is to re-engage with the sense of childlike wonder. I know certainly this is something that is talked about a lot in mindfulness work, approaching your situations with childlike wonder to release yourself from judgment. It also works with healing the rift inside you about that whole sense of I'm not enough. Says who? Who says you're not enough? It's only you. It's only you who says that, because I reckon if you ask the person next to you whether they thought you were enough, they would actually be blown away by how gifted you are, how talented you are, and how extraordinarily together you seem to be. So I challenge you to ask the people around you, am I enough? And hear what words come back to you. I think you'll be surprised. What do you think, Melinda? We seem to be having a quite intimate, cosy little chat this week, which is very, very nice. Would you like to actually come on and talk with me face to face? I can invite you in and we can actually have a proper conversation, so you're not trying to type things out on the keyboard. Give me a thumbs up or a love heart or something if you'd like to come on board and just nut this out a little bit between us. And I'm just going to take a drink of water and give the Facebook Live time lag time to work through so I can see a response from Melinda. Okay, I would if I can grab my iPad. Okay, does that mean it's handy and you can grab it? Because I'm happy to wait just a little bit longer and have a proper chat with you about this, because I think it's really important. And I know between us as financial fitness coaches, we've talked about this sort of thing previously, and it's not just in the financial realm that people struggle with this. I think it's all of us being called into service at this particular point in time. That's why you are on this earth and I am on this earth, and whoever is here on this earth, we've been called into service right now because of the unique gift and talent that each of us brings. It's something that we need right now. So we have to somehow help each other overcome this sense of I'm not enough. Help each other overcome this sense of fear. Okay, lovely. All right, Melinda, you've got your iPad. I am going to see if I can work out how to add you. I've added you. So coming interview any moment now. I love this technology stuff that allows you in, I think it's Port Stephens, is that correct? Somewhere on the New South Wales coast. Hi, Melinda.
Hello.
So lovely.
How are you?
Your beautiful face. It's very well.
Chat with you.
Yay. Thanks so much for joining in the Lounge Room chat today. This is wonderful.
I love technology and how we can connect and bridge the gap and come back to face-to-face conversation again.
It's wonderful, isn't it? And that we have this opportunity to catch up for lunch. I was just saying as you were tuning in that you're, I think it's Port Stephens, is that right, where you are?
That's right, yes.
Yeah, on the New South Wales coast. And here I am in Darwin, the Northern Territory. We're thousands of kilometres apart. Hello, you've got your helper in today.
Oh, yes, both my helpers.
Are you on Are you on school holidays?
Not yet, but we
Not
were
yet.
tired and emotional this morning, so we've stayed home
Yeah. Oh, fair enough.
from school. And
Sometimes those mental health days just make all the difference, don't they?
it might for them. I'm going to need one tomorrow.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, send them off to school tomorrow. Yeah, so I was just drawing the comparison between that scarcity mindset that we experience when we're talking finance and external factors, and how when we internalize that, it becomes I'm not enough. And what are some of the things that we can do to overcome that? Because each and every one of us that are here on the planet right now has something extraordinary and valuable to contribute to the whole of the planet. So I think it's incumbent on all of us to find our way through that lesson of I'm not enough, to see how we can actually deliver on our promise. I was just wondering what you had to contribute to that thought.
I've had lots of beautiful friends joining in since I came on live, and the ones that are there and joining us in this conversation are all very strong women who are amazing at supporting each other, supporting
Beautiful.
me.
Yep.
And it's great to know that when you've got that tribe amongst you that has your back, that it gives you an extra level of strength that I think sometimes we need to draw upon, that we don't always feel like we have.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely the connections with the people like the one that you and I have is so supportive. And then when you do have those low moments, you know you've got those people there to remind you how valuable you are.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. That's so true. And I think the more that we tap into that sense of community and that sense of being of support and value to each other, the better we will overcome that whole boxed in feeling of there's not enough and I'm afraid and I'm in competition with that person over there because they've got more than me or they're better than me, and I'm just, that whole idea of being in comparison and being in competition. So the better we get at building community and the better we get at being of true valuable support to each other, the sooner we'll be able to break that down.
Definitely agree completely. It's so hard, like I said in the comments, not to fall back on that comparison trap. And you were definitely right in saying, I might look at someone and think, wow, they have got it all together. But your comments made me remember a couple of conversations I've had this week with people where they're like, how do you do it all? Where do you fit it in? I wish I could do that much with my time. And it's so true. I have that perception of, oh my goodness, I lack in time,
Absolutely.
I lack in support, I lack in whatever it might be. And we look at each other, I guess, the same way and go, wow, she's got it together. They have something that I don't have. But we need to move past that and let that go, because what they might have is actually not what I want anyway. When you when you drill down deep enough, the sense of freedom for one person is not the sense of freedom for another.
Absolutely. That is so true, and that's a really important concept that you've brought up there, that idea of freedom. I think a lot of us have an idea of freedom that is based on what the media presents to us as being an ideal lifestyle, and it looks slick and shiny and really appealing. But I think at the end of the day, most people get right back to those core values of what's really important to them, and being able to choose those over and above anything else is where that true sense of freedom comes in. So being able to move the restrictions of having to operate in a particular way, having to meet the rules of society in a particular way. And I'm not talking about going out and breaking laws and so on, because then we'd just be living in anarchy, and I don't want that. Laws are there for a good reason. But there are some social mores and some ways of operating that I think are outdated that we could really update and make things more conducive to community and sharing.
Yeah. And
Mm.
and understanding just exactly what freedom is, and that historical story, particularly for Australia, and that, you know, there's the Aussie battler, there's having that one family home and the ties to a mortgage and a bank and all those kinds of things that have
Absolutely.
shifted now over the last 100 or so years, that it's almost like it's acceptable to be an Aussie battler. Um, and that is definitely not something that says freedom to this girl anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that that's really interesting. We do fall into the trap of, we were talking last week about universal consciousness and some of the concepts that rest there in the I can't speak today, universal consciousness. And certainly some of those domestic myths, I think, like the Aussie battler, like the idea that you go to school, get good grades, get a good job, get married, you buy a house, you live happily ever after, and then you retire and drive off into your sunset years, um, is something that's been drummed into us, certainly this particular generation here, from a very early age, because it was something that my parents discovered was available for them. And I think, that idea that you could actually own your own home and be, sovereign unto yourself almost, within the social laws and so on. Yeah, we're really still in the hangover of that and stuck, very stuck in it.
Mm. It's a good
Doing
description.
awful things to people.
The hangover is an interesting description of exactly that paradigm. It's, yes, I like that. Well put, Linda. Well, because that's what it can
Well, thank you.
those decisions of doing what is considered normal can definitely leave you with a horrible feeling the morning after, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of regret, isn't there? But let's not go too far into these hangover stories. That could certainly be, a subject for another chat further down the track, maybe one day when I get to know the viewers better. But,
Yeah.
I did want to share with you, Marianne Williamson is one for the power of prayer. And a lot of the stuff that she puts together it's about shifting that vibration of self. And you and I both work a lot with particularly the vibration of abundance and how you can work to change your mindset to be able to support that mindset, but also do some stuff in your practical world that will anchor that vibration and make it so much easier for you to reduce the amount of resistance that you have to that vibration. So this is another take on that, and it's using the power of prayer, which is, essentially just an affirmation phrased, dear God, blah, 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 amen. But it's that whole premise and that whole power of shifting your vibration from this is the bit that I don't like and I can see how I want it to be, let's shift it across that way. But she phrases it in such a beautiful way and takes the pressure off you being the sole instigator and just reminds you that we're a child of the universe and the universe has our back, and that we merely have to intend and consciously choose and then allow the universe to meet us halfway. So I just wanted to share this prayer with you about how we can start dealing with that sense of lack within, that sense of I'm not enough, my worth is very low, I have no value, I have no confidence. And this is the prayer that she wrote for that. She goes, Dear God, I feel myself falling into the hole of self-pity, self-obsession and negativity. I know I shouldn't think this way, but I'm afraid and I cannot stop. Please replace my thoughts with yours, dear God. I'm willing to see myself and all things differently. Please send me the miracle of new eyes and ears that I may know greater good. Amen. I think that's just so beautiful, so powerful. Now, I'm not really a churchy sort of person, and I'm not really someone that automatically has the word God spring to my lips. But I just find that her connection with Source and her connection with God is very comforting and very powerful. So I just wanted to share that beautiful prayer with you, and for anybody else who tunes in for the replay later, that whenever you do have those feelings of lack, you can simply ask for the miracle of new eyes and ears so that you can see yourself differently and hear the words you tell yourself differently. You need to start telling yourself different words too. So, did you want to add anything else to that, Melinda?
I love that, Linda. I'm very taken by the fact that we do need to open our minds to allow those thoughts to change and completely understand that our thoughts of yesterday don't need to be the thoughts of tomorrow, and open ourselves and ask for that guidance and clarity, and definitely welcome abundance in however that format looks like for you and for me, and for anyone else who chooses to welcome it into their world.
Yeah, and I think certainly for me, the starting point for abundance is coming to a place of acceptance that I am enough. That's just kind of the starting point. When you've got that going on internally, then it starts reflecting beautifully in your external world. So when you see stuff in your external world that you don't want to see, or it's showing you there's a lack, then start exploring your inner world and sorting out, where is it that I'm not enough? How can I be more than I am? And ask the universe to help you. So I think that's a really nice place to finish up, unless you have anything else that you'd like to add.
Perfect.
I'm very mindful that... Sorry, say that again, Melinda.
Perfect as always. You are.
Bless you. Oh, thank you so much. I'm feeling more than enough after hearing that. Thank you. I will... Hello, Adair. Adair's just joined us, and she's saying, I'm here thinking for some reason you were on at 30. Yeah, Adair, I think the issue is because I'm co-hosting with My Time TV, which is based in South Australia. My 1 o'clock is your 1:30. So I'm going to have to explore how to make that not so tricky. So I'm very grateful that you'll check out the replay. Thank you so much. And I'm going to close out now. And thank you very much, Melinda, for joining me. And I'll just see if I push this little button here. Okay. Nope, that didn't work. I was looking at adding someone else in by the looks of it. So you can just hang out there with me right till the very end when I push finish, which is wonderful. Yeah, so I'm just wrapping up now because these are half-hour chats at lunchtime, so I keep them short and sweet and don't eat, pardon the pun, into too much time at lunchtime. So this is Linda Emsley from Love Lali. Thank you, Melinda Smiley, for your beautiful presence. I think it was Adair actually who asked me, is Smiley really her last name? I said, yes, it is.
It is Adair.
She said, I love that. I love that. And I love the fact that your last name's Smiley too, because it really suits.
Thank you.
So thank you, Melinda, for your beautiful company. Thank you, Adair, for your beautiful company. And I'll get that time difference sorted out a bit better next week. And we'll connect again then. So bye for now.
Chat soon.
Linda Emsley from Love Lali.
Bye.
And I'll see you next week. Bye.